people that are perhaps got like 10 to 20,000 followers or something, but they've got kind of a niche following. And I think that can be an underrated way of reaching a wider audience.
So our guest today is Jon Darch. You bring over 15 years of experience of client and agency side, like digital marketing expertise, which is awesome. And then you lead analytics and insight for your team. You have a vast background of touching different departments before you kind of started your own agency with your co-founder. And so since you have such specific experience in an all-around form, how well do you think that worked for you in thinking about starting your own agency?
I think I'd initially taken on a lot of kind of self-learning in terms of the digital marketing side and particularly the sort of design side of and how technology works together. Then working in a client side role gave me the opportunity to kind of, I suppose, understand more about how big businesses work and the internal teams, departments, politics, all that sort of stuff. I suppose rather than focusing on one specific skill set, I have kind of had a good range of experience and skill sets that have come into that, which has meant that I've got a good enough understanding at a broad level to be able to sort of specify a solution, diagnose a problem, and probably then bring in a team member who might have a more specific skill set that might work with that client on something.
Can you speak on what a client engagement looks like? And then where do you begin to identify what a client might need?
Clients sometimes will come to us with a problem. I'd rather try and diagnose the issue, understand where they want to get to. And rather than trying to sell them a service, I'd rather try and understand, okay, well, in order to get there, these are the things that we might need to look at first. And we'd always much rather understand, the data first before we actually, propose a solution.
We have a lot of people that want to know, but what does a typical day look like in your world?
At the moment, a lot of it is we've been quite busy for some time. So a lot of the work I get involved in is kind of new business discussions, proposals, pitches. At the moment, recruitment. We're trying to hire a lot of people. That's also quite a challenging and time-consuming aspect. So I get involved with that. My days are quite varied, but I would say at the moment it feels like emails, slides, presentations, and a lot of video calls.
So moving on to the next question, I do want to ask, how important do you feel is it for someone entering the field of digital marketing to have like a specific focus? When you are hiring a team member, do you look primarily for a specific depth of experience in one area or just kind of broader knowledge across the board?
I think there's real benefit in having a broad understanding. So the things you can do, be it from courses or placements, things like that, that'll give you that broad level, and so that you understand how the channels work together. So you understand, how SEO can influence paid and content and all those sorts of things that kind of all sit in the same realm. I do think though that if from a career path perspective, it does make a lot of sense. If you can focus on, one or two areas, and you'll find it easier to sort of define your career path and work out, what that looks like.
And so that kind of brings me to our next one. As a digital marketer, are there any groups that you recommend for some of our students to join or be a part of where they can look for or share ideas? For example, newsletters, blogs, website, anything that you recommend for them?
Me personally, I use things like Twitter in particular. Is super powerful in the sense that if you follow the right sort of people and you can find the right sort of people that are working in that space, who are who are interested in kind of thought leadership and talking around the topics that interest them in particular, that can be a great place because they'll often share article links. So you can go on, follow the right people, and they will often share quite good content. So I'd definitely say Twitter.
You're right. Social media can go so far. Twitter, especially following thought leadership, LinkedIn, those go so far. Now we're going to move on to a game called Underrated or Overrated. And we want to just kind of get your thoughts, Jon, on what you think about some of the things we use every day and the always ever-changing developments of the marketing world. You tell me if they're overrated or underrated and why. So the first one is chatbots. Would you overrate it, underrated, and why?
There's two types. So the ones that are fully automated, I would say overrated. I tend to find them not particularly useful, and I always end up, you end up wanting to talk to a human, right? The ones that are powered, or at least give you access to generally to a real person, can be very, very helpful. In that case, I'd say, underrated. But yeah, to your first point, probably overrated.
A little bit of both, right? Okay, second one. What about influencer marketing? That's a pretty popular one right there.
I would say underrated if you go down the kind of route of working with micro influencers, which people that are perhaps got like 10 to 20,000 followers or something, but they've got kind of a niche following, and I think that can be an underrated way of reaching a wider audience.
Okay, and then just 3 more, but what do you think about Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter?
I think it's a bit worrying, maybe, depending on, he can be a bit, I don't know, he can be a bit erratic in his behaviors. I would love to see him actually, take proper a stance on some of the more difficult subjects social media networks deal with, and that's probably around the sort of the darker side of it, the abusive comments, all that kind of stuff. If he did that, that would be, I think, a really strong move.
We have 2 more. Our next one is SEO. What do you think? Underrated, overrated, and why?
I'd say underrated in the sense that it's a very specialist sort of discipline. There's a huge demand for people who have SEO skill sets. If you go down that career route, I think it's a really interesting space to work in, and there's an awful lot of demand for that skill set, which I would say is probably a bit underrated.
And last but not least, what are your thoughts on user surveys, specifically when needed for like website design, just as an example, but underrated, overrated, and why?
Underrated, definitely. We use lots of user survey software, as it helps us to kind of capture user feedback and insight, particularly that would help us make informed decisions on building a new website or changing a service. So using it to capture meaningful customer insights, super powerful, and is often overlooked. So I'd say underrated.
You made it through our our game, which is awesome. But we did have a question for you. So this is from Elaine. She's wondering if you could talk through how your work, or specifically client needs, have changed due to the pandemic.
A key thing that we found beyond the comms is that I think things have been happening quicker. We find that we're getting decisions signed off quicker. Things are happening more quickly. That's great for us in terms of our growth and delivering work and not having to wait a long time for decisions. One thing I should say, it's probably made recruitment more challenging. It's widened the opportunity that are available to people, because it's no longer defined necessarily by location. So I think that as an employer for us, that's a positive and a negative in terms of it's harder. We've got to make sure we retain our team as much as we want to try and attract new people. And as a candidate, someone that's looking to get into that space, if you're looking to get into digital marketing, I'd say it's a very sensible career decision, and there'll be lots of opportunity for you.
Well, thank you so much, Jon, for taking time to talk to us during office hours.
Yeah, happy to help, and obviously, I've got a recent amount of experience I can share. So if anyone's got any questions, and obviously if I'm across yourself or add me on LinkedIn, I can try my best to answer any questions that anyone has.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you guys next week.